Nonverbal communication is a very effective way to encourage a person to speak in an interview. If you are empathetic, an interviewee will be relaxed and may be more open with you. If you nod your head or smile when you feel like encouraging the interviewee, you will find that your actions will stimulate conversation. Another effective technique is called reflection. When you wish to indicate to the interviewee that you understand what they are saying, simply comment to them about the emotions you perceive them to be experiencing as they talk. If you have correctly caught the emotional tone of the conversation, the interviewee will see you are listening and may go into greater depth, thus giving you more information to go on. The physical setting of the interview is also a factor to consider. Telephone calls disrupt the interview. Moving away from your desk to sit near the interviewee will improve the atmosphere, because the desk represents authority and may be a barrier to open discussion. Ms. Papazian is thinking of taking a long vacation abroad. She visits a travel agency to find out places to see, when to go, and how much it will cost.
How are you today?
Fine, thank you. And yourself?
I'm very good. It's cold out there, isn't it?
Oh, it's awful. And I guess we're getting another snowstorm, too, in a couple days.
Oh, I've had enough of winter already.
Oh, so have I. Have you lived here long?
Yes, my whole life. How about yourself?
Same. It's awful. We never do get used to it, huh?
It doesn't seem like we do.
I was interested in taking a trip to Europe, and I've never made plans for a trip before through a travel agency. I was wondering if perhaps you could answer a few questions that were on my mind.
Oh, sure. I'll answer all the questions I can for you.
Could you tell me what would be some of the cities and countries that I might be interested in seeing if I went over to Europe?
They're also interesting. There's Italy, Spain, France. Some of the most popular cities are Paris and London by far.
Could you tell me what would there be to see in London and Paris?
In London, there's Buckingham Palace where the Queen lives, and you could see the changing of the guards, which is quite interesting. They also have a park called Hyde Park. It's in the city itself, but it has the atmosphere that it's outside the city on the countryside. There's a beautiful pond, there's picnicking and horseback riding. And also, if you'd like to do a little bit of shopping, there's Harrods, which I'm sure you've heard of that. Paris, on the other hand, has the Eiffel Tower. You could take an elevator ride up to the top and you have a view of the entire city, which is quite beautiful. And also there's lots of museums that you could go and visit as well.
Oh, it all sounds so nice. Could you tell me something about the restaurants and the dining?
There's lots of outside cafes in Paris, and also in the Eiffel Tower is one of the best restaurants that there is. And in London it's the same. There's quite a few restaurants, and you can have a mixture of that type of food and American food as well.
Now, could you tell me something about the hotels?
There's quite a few hotels. I would recommend getting a hotel in both of the cities. That way you would avoid traveling into the city itself.
Oh, I see. Now, what would be the best way to get around the city?
Public transportation in both Paris and London are excellent. I would highly recommend doing that, and I wouldn't even consider renting a car because it would be much more trouble for you.
Now, what would be the best way to get over to Europe from here?
Well, how long would you plan on vacationing for?
Well, my husband and I were just going to go for about 2.5 weeks.
With that amount of time, I would definitely suggest flying because it would take a lot less time than sailing or taking a cruise or something of that sort. You could fly right from Boston into Paris, and then they have lots of charters from Paris to London. So I'd highly recommend the flying. Now, as far as that, you could take a charter, you could go in a group, or you and your husband could plan your travel reservations by yourselves. It would really be up to you, but those are your choices.
Okay, well, what would I do then in finalizing my plans?
I could go ahead and give you some brochures with all the different costs and the other different activities and the different flights available for you. Let me go ahead and give them to you now. You could go ahead and look through them at your convenience, and then perhaps maybe in a month or so, why don't you get back with me and we could finalize some plans.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for all your help.
You're very welcome. I hope you have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
In viewing the interview we have just seen, recall how open-ended questions were used to get the travel agent to describe travel arrangements. When more information was needed, probe questions were used to elicit the information. Note how the interviewer avoided yes or no questions.
Now let's look at another interview. This time, we will focus on the techniques other than questioning which the interviewer can use to stimulate conversation.
The interviewer will attempt to use conversation-stimulating techniques to maintain rapport with the interviewee. A good interview depends on more than well-thought-out questions. Often, it takes empathy on the part of the interviewer in order to create effective communication. In addition, skills like nonverbal communication, downplaying negative information, and the ability to reflect the interviewee's emotions all help the interviewer conduct an effective conversation.
Key points to observe: nonverbal communication, reflection technique, physical setting, downplaying negative information, show empathy. Mary Kay has got a problem with her boss.
She is upset and wishes to talk to her boss about it.
Are you busy? If you are, I can come back later.
No, I'm not busy. Come in and close the door. Are you all right? You look upset.
Well, not really. I have something to tell you, but I'm not really sure where to begin.
Why don't you have a seat and take a deep breath and begin?
All right. I broke the coffee machine.
You broke the coffee machine.
I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident, really.
Of course you didn't mean to do it. After all, accidents can happen. Can you tell me how it happened?
Well, one of the secretaries, she asked me to make some coffee for her, and it looked really simple, but I put the coffee where the water was supposed to go.
You put the coffee where the water's supposed to go.
Yeah, and then it started to make all these funny noises, and the smoke came out, and then just stopped working.
But you said you thought you knew how the machine worked.
Yeah, I thought I did. And I was only trying to help the secretary because she was running late for her meeting.
This doesn't sound like it was your fault at all. You just haven't been trained properly in how to use the machine, and that is something that can easily be remedied.
Will I lose my job? I mean, well, I saw this show once when this girl, she broke the copy machine, and her boss was really angry with her, and he fired her. But it wasn't her fault. It was just an accident, and she didn't mean to do it, and then she was out of a job. And I'd really hate to lose my job. I mean, I really love the people here, and I love being here, really.
Don't worry about it. You won't lose your job over a broken coffee machine.
What about the broken machine?
Well, that's simple. Our coffee machine is under a service contract with the company we bought it from. That means that the damage will be covered by this contract. All you have to do is contact the company we bought it from and tell them what happened. They'll have it fixed in no time.
I'm really sorry about the machine.
I know you are. Now don't worry about it anymore. Go back to work and try to have a nice day, okay?
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
In the next interview, we will see a new employee of a hotel talking with a co-worker. Look for the following aspects of interview style: open-end question, probe question, summarizing.
The three main things we expect of you at the hotel here. That's the check-in, the check-out, and the reservations.
Could you give me an idea of the main things to look for?
Okay, the first thing is the check-in procedure.
Excuse me, do you mind if I take notes?
Go right ahead.
Okay.
All set?
Yes.
First thing is the check-in procedure. Okay, that's where the people come in. We have them sign into the registry book. If they do have children, we usually give them a double room instead of a single. And we have them sign in, as I said. We get their key. We ask them whether it's going to be cash or a credit.
So for check-in, the main points to remember are the registration card, the room assignment, whether they're going to have a single room or a double room, and whether they're going to pay by cash or by credit. Okay, can you tell me about the checkout procedure?
Checkout procedure usually happens during the morning. And that means the people come up to the desk here, we pull their bill, we type it into our computer, we give them a receipt, and then we ask them how their stay was here.
All right. To summarize the checkout procedures, I need to remember to ring in the bell, present the customer and give them a receipt, and ask if there were any problems. You also mentioned reservations. What do I need to know about them?
There are two types of reservations we take here. First is by the people checking out. We ask them if they'd like to reserve a room for a later on date. The second is by phone, and that means they call up. We ask them what dates they'd like to reserve a hotel room for, and we take a look through our date book. And if our date book's filled for that day, we usually send them someplace else since this is such a resort area.
Okay, so you accept reservation by phone or by mail. All right, so I need to remember check-in, check-out, reservation procedures. Could you tell me what to do when a customer wants to pay by credit card?
Okay, our credit card machine is kept down by your feet. And we usually take that up and we check it out with a listing of stolen or missing credit cards. And if anything is, if that number shows up on the book, you don't deal with the customer right away. You come get me or somebody else higher up. You don't deal with the customer themselves.
All right, thank you. I'm glad I checked out my understanding of the job with you. I knew there was a lot more to it than meets the eye.
As you looked at the interview, I hope you noted the technique used by the interviewer. Although this was an exchange between two co-workers, an on-the-job training session, the conversation could correctly be described as an interview. In this case, the new employee was eliciting information on how to perform the job. Some of the techniques used to elicit information were open-ended questions, probe questions, and summarizing to clarify what had been said and correct any misunderstanding. The material we have been covering can be used in many types of interviews. It's my opinion that much of the interaction in organizations is in the form of interviews, conversations with a purpose. As in the case of most communications techniques, one can improve one's skill in interviewing by practice. You may use the learning points illustrated before each role play in this program as the basis for your practice. Try to include as many of the interviewing techniques as possible as you practice. You will find that by practice, you will improve your performance in interviews in your work organizations and in organizations of all kinds.